You want some bad news, Michael?
No.
What are you asking me?
You're the guru of the gray matter. I figured if anybody had it, you'd have the answer.
I can't give you any direction.
I think I'm going to have to change this channel. I'm sorry.
You're completely wrong.
I refuse to be wrong on 2 calls in a row.
Tell me I'm spot on or tell me I'm crazy as I'll get out.
I have no idea.
I have a 6-month-old, so we'll be raising him according to Dr. Ray.
Talk about being a winner.
So, you want my question?
You ain't making any sense.
You're absolutely right. I just needed confirmation.
So what are you going to do about it, Dawn?
I'm calling you.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
I came across a quote that really bothers me here. Try not to take it personal. It's from Edward R. Murrow. He was a high-profile journalist back on around World War II. He said this: just because your voice reaches halfway around the world, and this EWTN network does, actually reaches all the way around, but just because your voice reaches halfway around the world doesn't mean, this is the part that hits me, you are wiser than when it reached only to the end of the bar. I've noticed that. All these pundits on TV, people making comments, and because they're well known, by definition, they're smart. Doesn't follow. And the fact that this program reaches all over the place with all 192 of my listeners now, most recent survey, 192, which is about one listener for every other station, close to it. It doesn't mean that any smarter than when I just said something in my own house. But we'll do our best here. I'm Dr. Ray Guarendi. The program, The Doctor is In. I am the doctor who is in. You can be in, as in present, not cool. If you want to be cool, that's good. If you call 877-573-7825. Now, it's not a number that rolls off the tongue. People go, oh, that's so easy to remember. It's not. Back in the day, I imagine when they just kind of took these 800 numbers and just grabbed them. I would like it to be like 877 call Ray or something like that. Hey, Andrew, can you see if we can get that one? Talk to Avi, talk to EWTN, see if we can get 877. Well, okay, I'm not training for the humility award this year. I'm letting it all hang out. I'm just being proud and arrogant and full of hubris. 877-573-7825, 877-57-EQUAL, if you acronymically do it, 877-57-EQUAL. Why would you call? 3 main reasons. 1, most of the time, I'd say 60, 65% of the time, it's a situation, it's a circumstance, it's a person in your life, something that you say, all right, this is what's going on, Dr. Smarty Pants. What do you have to say about this? That's one. Another one is, I think the second most common is somebody calls in to help out. And I've been noticing something here. I notice a little theme. I don't know what this says, and this is not accusatory. But some of you people who call in to help somebody else out, you don't hang on the line as long. Is that true, Andrew? You notice that? We should do a little survey to see how long they stay on the line, because we had some calls yesterday where somebody was going to comment and help out, and they were gone. A little altruism factor heading downhill. And then a third one, these are the ones that I really revel in, is generic. Kind of a broad-based question about psychology or the intersection of faith and psychology or personal relationships or a cultural comment. That's probably the third most common, although I do get those. Somebody might call in and say, why do you think that people, it's just this overall kind of generic psychological emotional observation. So those are the 3 reasons. But the number is the same for all of them, 877-57-EQUAL. Now this morning, those of you in the Guadalupe Radio Network, I was on their morning show with Nick. And we had a very nice chat, but we were talking about something that Guadalupe is doing with me, and it's open to the whole country. They're just sponsoring it and producing it, which is a 7-week course on parenting. And I'm going to get into the nitty gritty. You call here. I can give you 5, 6, 7 minutes worth of a few thoughts or suggestions. Hopefully they're somewhat helpful. But, man, you talk a 7-week course, I get way into the nitty gritty. And I guarantee you, I'm going to make you stronger as a parent against the culture. I'll make you raise, well, I can't make you, but I'll help you raise that 1 in 100 kid. And I thought of something. I didn't suggest it on Nick's show today. You grandparents, we get a lot of grandparents listening and get a lot of calls here and in my office, grandparents saying, my daughter is so frustrated with her kids. Or I can't enjoy my grandkids because they just are not well disciplined. What if you put up the fee, and it's not very much. What if you put up the fee for your granddaughter or your daughter or whoever it might be to take the course, huh? How about that? So that's a thought. So if you go to GRN Online, I get emails saying, how do I sign up? Well, GRN, Guadalupe Radio Network, GRN Online.com / sounds rough, Academy. And there's a whole bunch of possibilities there you can select from. And one of them is mine. And you just click on my face, I think. Kind of rough. All right. Okay, now, I came across this article, and this is kind of encouraging because these articles are popping up all over the place. And interestingly enough, it's finally, I'm sometimes astounded by how long it takes for us supposed expert types to catch on to a cultural phenomenon that is a tsunami in its numbers. And of course, this is the one of the younger generation cutting off their own parents. Now, talked about this before, but I like this guy's approach. He shares 5 factors that he believes are involved. We talked about some of these, and he brought up a one or two that I'd like to elaborate on. The point here is that of this listening audience, I would suspect that more of you have had your kids, grown kids, cut you off than the general population. And one of the reasons for that is your faith and the way you raised them and your political views. All right, so I want to get into some of this here with this guy. It's becoming more and more common, leading experts to consider the reasons behind the division. All right, 2025 survey found 38% of U.S. adults are estranged from at least one family member. We've cited that stat before in this program, including siblings, parents, children, or grandparents. All right, but I would think the most common estrangement is the younger generation to the older generation. Now, this guy, Dr. Richard Blake, is a British psychologist and author out of Austin, Texas. He talks about the 5 factors that he believes commonly contribute to these relations. Now, this is one that comes up repeatedly on this program. Political and value differences. A long-standing study of more than 2,000 mother-adult-child relationships found that, quote, value dissimilarity. Now, notice how they leave out religion, morals. It's called the much more neutral value dissimilarity was a strong predictor of estrangement. And if you'll notice, it tends to be, even though the older adults get accused of being judgmental, it tends to come from the other direction. The younger adults are cutting off the older adults because they don't like and tolerate what the parents believe. Bugs them bad. Remember back in COVID, how many calls we'd get from parents who said we can't see the grandkids because we refuse to take the vaccine. which has now fallen under quite a bit of disrepute, or at least questionable utility. So that said, my experience has been the younger ones, the younger generation, is more likely to be intolerant of the older generation's beliefs than the older generation is, despite all the stereotypes that you religious people are bigoted and judgmental, all the stereotypes that say you should be the one cutting off your kids. There were people, I'm quoting this guy, there were people more likely to cut off someone for having a different opinion than for people who have done serious violent crimes. There you go. In other words, what he's pointing out that, yeah, I don't like the way you think, as opposed to I don't like the way you do. All right. This is interesting. I didn't realize there was this linear relationship. This is influence number 2. Social media. Heavy social media use has been linked to poorer parent-child relationships. Study, 9,800 teens found that spending more than 2 hours a day on social media was linked to significantly greater chances of a negative relation with one or both parents. Now, I don't know if, again, these are teens. So for those of you listening who have teenagers, and this is the kind of stuff I'm going to deal with also in the parenting course, you have teenagers, you're allowing the social media, and it is not working in your favor. All right, I got to take a break. There's more of these, but I want to get your calls too. 877-573-7825. Love to talk to you. 877-57-EQUAL. That is the number to call on The Doctor Is In. Thank you.
God has given each of us one life to live, and caring for our health is one way we can honor that gift. At Healthy Lifetime, we help you age with confidence, fulfillment, and the ability to enjoy what matters most. That's why our personalized health coaching for aging adults is built around listening, understanding, and helping achieve your goals. Visit HealthyLifetimeInc.com/Ave Maria to sign up. That's HealthyLifetimeInc.com/Ave Maria.
After his tour of duty in Vietnam, my oldest brother Billy became a simple materialist. Sensing himself to be in an indifferent world, the only meaning to be grasped was in the good of control. He joined the police force, had 4 planned children, raised them rather severely, and lived economically prudently. For the past 3 years, though, he has confronted something he cannot control: cancer. And his life has changed. In his own words, I have a choice between love or fear. I choose love. Well done, brother. Now take the last step. Recognize that love itself is personal. It comes from person, is directed to person. To affirm love is to affirm persons as the greatest good of our lives. And ever to view another person as an obstacle, ever to pay a medical hitman to take a defenseless person out of the way, is to deconstruct the cosmos. GuadalupeWorkers.org.
Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866 Ave Maria or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
Making your parenting more fit. Making your kids have less fits. Making your husband wear clothes that fit. I was going to say that match, but that's kind of tough. I'd try to walk out of the house with my daughters, and all I would hear is, Dad. What? Dad. What? Oh, Dad. Now, about the third dad, it kind of occurred to me polka dots don't go with stripes. And I shouldn't wear the pants with the feathers. That's just not cool anymore. My son's always said, I think you look great, Dad. I think you look real good. Okay. Oh, so that's not ready anymore there, Eric? Oh boy. Well, we we had a situation where the older generation was gonna cut off. All righty. Well, we'll get back to that call. 877-57 equal. I want to take your calls. We've got lines open right now. If you've watched Everybody Loves Raymond, he had a whole show with a cousin who pronounced now. Now, this is interesting. The second factor was social media. This psychologist, Dr. Blake, said someone might see a video on TikTok. I cut off my parents and I'm much happier now. They were toxic, narcissistic boundary crossers. Boy, that's good the way he strung together 3 of the shibboleths. Toxic, narcissistic, boundary crossers. And now I'm great. He made the observation, people mimic that. They think, this person's getting a lot of attention. He acknowledged that there are no long-term studies that have documented an increase, but this is the standard line, doesn't mean the absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. Follow that one. According to Blake, now see, that's right, I like the way this guy thinks. Society has shifted away from what he described as a dignity culture towards one that places greater value on victim culture. Social media really does that. Have you noticed that? Social media, especially people you know, when they're having trouble in a relationship, they come sideways. You know, sometimes people just disappoint you in their lives. You think you can trust them, and you realize you can't. These kind of supposedly quasi-anonymous accusations on social media. Have you noticed that? That's awful. It's just flat out awful. Dr. Ray, you have social media. I do, but it's not personal, and I do not talk about my dog peed on my carpet for the 3rd time this month. Talk about hopefully things that can help you. He goes on, boy, some great line. He says, so now it's a race to the bottom. If you don't have enough victim status because of the way you were born, you can create a victim status by suggesting your parents abused you or neglected you, and I'm going to add, or didn't raise you the way you think they should have raised you, and therefore you have value. You have a reason to cut them off. I like his observation there. It's like if you don't really have some obvious victim status, our culture just kind of classifies people as victims in all kinds of groups. We're all just a bunch of victim groups elbowing each other, trying to get more victimization. He says, well, you don't have that. You got to kind of make it sound like, yeah, man, I really got messed up by my parents. They didn't raise me right. And it has gone from some fact, some reality that indeed they were bad parents to they weren't the parents I think they should have been given my perspective, given where I am right now at age 29. All right. Now, we've talked about this before, and he's noticed it. Third factor in this kind of severing of relationships, therapy culture. Oh, gosh, yes. We are a heavily over-psychologized and over-therapized culture. He says, changing attitudes toward trauma and abuse have influenced how some people view relationship with their parents. Yeah, abuse used to be a pretty serious thing. Trauma was a serious thing. Now it's got this big umbrella term that it's sort of anything. I really don't like what they did. I'm not saying there's not real abuse. Of course not. There is. And there's real trauma. But we've broadened the term so much that you can put anything underneath it as long as you're displeased about it. Another justification, and this is one I see a lot. I cut off my parents to protect my mental health. And you'll get a lot of therapists that will applaud that. Absolutely. The number one thing for you is to be content as you define it. And relationships take a distant second because your personal contentment, again, however you define it, is the most important thing. He, pretty blunt about this, he says, this is a sort of false belief. And then this is what I've said oftentimes on this show, and I've noticed this relationship. There is a huge bias that if you are struggling in your adult life, it must be because your parents did something they shouldn't or didn't do something they should. I've made that observation. I said I've noticed more and more higher numbers of young adults or even middle-aged adults who have cut off their parents, who are living their lives poorly. And the more poorly they live their lives, the more they're seeking to point their finger back at their parents. I think there's a definite relationship there. If I was way back in school in counseling or something like that, that would be a good PhD thesis. Find some objective measurement about how somebody's living their lives. See if you can find a correlation between what percentage of people living their lives poorly and how much they've cut themselves off from their parents and what level they've cut themselves off from their parents. All right. He said this. I agree with him so much. Family relationships remain one of the strongest protective factors for mental health. In other words, it's on its head. Well, I got to just cut my parents out of my life for the sake of my own mental health, when in fact, if your parents were not pleasing to you, or they were manipulative or intrusive, or they make snidey remarks, well, okay. I'm not saying you have to like it. Not saying it's necessarily good. But is it a reason to cut them out of your life? Now, let me just throw a qualifier in here. I have had clients in my office struggling with what kind of relationship they need to have with their parents because their parents undercut their own parenting. They don't agree with the way these parents are raising the grandkids. And so the grandparents think, well, we got to compensate. If they come over here, we'll let them watch certain things that their parents wouldn't let them watch. We'll let them eat certain things their parents wouldn't let them eat. We'll let them do certain things their parents wouldn't let them do because we don't agree with them. Now that puts you in a corner. That's something where you have to find a way. And I've oftentimes advised parents, all right, it's going to have to be one of those situations where the kids are not at your parents' house unless you're there, because you can't trust your parents to cooperate with the way you do things because they disagree. And sadly, I've seen that. I've just seen so much of that. All right. Let's see what else he said. He's got a lot of nice stuff here. He says, families are one of the most evidence-based buffers against mental illness. There's a myth, he says, that families are not important. I like this guy. He really seems to be coming from not only a solid perspective, but it sure smells kind of like a Christian perspective. And kind of sounds like he's got the research on his side too. All right, I got to take a break here, and then we'll get now. Calls are starting to come in, so we'll see what we got here. 877-573-7825. 877-57 equal. That's the number to get onto the program, as I soon will be quiet here because 3, 2, 1, sing. Pablo Casal said this: man has made many machines. See, he's gender insensitive. You shouldn't say man, you should say people. But nevertheless, man has made many machines, complex and cunning. But which of them indeed rivals the workings of the human heart? Ha! Stephanie from Waterford, Michigan. Hi, Stephanie.
Hey, Dr. Ray. How are you?
Nothing gaining on me. I'm still quick and I still got the punches.
So, question, need your awesome advice.
I like that. I like the way you put that, Stephanie. I do like the way you put that.
It is always great.
Thank you.
And let me preface this by saying I am an admitted control freak. I don't know.
Hey, Stephanie, don't sound to me like you are. I'm looking at the summary of your call here, and I think you're anything but controlling.
Yeah. So, college-age kids, boy and a girl. One plays video games 7 hours a night till I don't even know what time. Tell them to be off at midnight, but that's not happening. I'm sure it's probably more like 2 a.m. The other one on all night with her boyfriend on the phone, or who knows what else, maybe watching videos. And I mean, they're functional, they do their stuff. I don't know if it's me being a control freak, wanting maybe to take, have their computers and phones out of their room at midnight, or...
Why are you waiting until midnight?
I'm trying to be a little bit graceful. Give them a little bit of grace.
Are they in college?
Yes.
And you say that they're succeeding in college.
They are.
So far.
Correct. Well, one's 2 years in. The other one is just starting, but was fine with high school. Good grades.
How in heaven's name can they succeed in college spending every free moment on a phone or a device?
Well, and that's the thing. It might just be summer. So with my daughter, I don't know because she is away at school. So I don't know what she's doing all night long. My son will be living at home for college, but it hasn't started yet. So I don't know. He probably won't be able to function like that, and it probably will stop. That's why I'm wondering, do I just let it go for the summer?
Stephanie, do you like the fact that your kids pretty much live in your house and ignore you?
Not particularly.
Are you married?
I am.
Where's your husband?
He's there. He's unconfrontational.
He's there. A lot of moms say that. He's there. Has he basically argued with you saying, no, they're kids, they're great kids, they get good grades, they're not on drugs, they don't have parole officers, they're fine, don't push it, Stephanie?
Nope, he doesn't say that either. It just doesn't bother him.
No, it doesn't bother him. Well, okay. You're asking for my awesome wisdom.
Yes.
You ain't doing your kids any favors at all. Flat out.
Okay.
Because your daughter's whole world is around this boyfriend at age whatever she is, 19 or the 18, which one's 18, 19? Oh, it's her whole world. She's totally preoccupied with that relationship. That's the first thing. If she's on that phone for hours a day, that dwarfs everything else she does. That's one.
Okay.
Secondly, your son, who plays video games endlessly, if I was a betting man, I'd give you 12-1 odds that kid is going to flame out first year of college. Because flat out nothing can compete with the stimulation of video games, especially not a classroom. But you'll have to wait and see how that happens. But here's what I think is the bigger question, Stephanie. Why do you not allow yourself to say, this is not good? I don't care that you're 18 or 19. You live in my house. This is not good. I don't see you, son, every night for hours, which obviously means, too, he doesn't do any chores, correct?
Limited.
He
nice.
Works.
He does have a job.
So his every free moment is spent playing games?
Pretty much.
Not talking to mom, not talking to dad, not hanging around, nothing.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Do you think that's good?
I do not.
Well,
and the other thing is, and I know you'll have a good response for this, if I make them keep their phones outside of their bedrooms at night, they'll just give me heartache and grief and attitude.
See, I knew it.
So it won't be any better than
what you're saying is I don't want the hassle. It's easier for me just to allow them to do this than to get the grief they're going to give me.
Correct.
And your husband wouldn't stop them from giving you grief?
Nope.
And if they were disrespectful and nasty, that's would just happen?
Correct.
And if they were disrespectful and nasty, would you say, well, now you've just lost all videos you've just lost your phone for a week. So don't do it again or you'll lose it for another week. That you're afraid that would happen.
I have done that, and people are nice for a while, and then they get back their stuff, and then it kind of happens again.
You have every right, Stephanie, to put limits. You can tell your son, you get 2 hours. You get 2 hours a day. I think that's very generous. The 2 hours a day. Over the limit, I take it for a day. You try again the day after. Same with your daughter. You have the phone comes out of your room at 9 o'clock at night. You go past that, I take it for a day. You have every right to do that. Doesn't matter if they're 18 or 19, so what? That means they can just go out and be independent, sort of, kinda. You're not allowing yourself to be a mom to do what you think is best.
Okay.
I mean, now, I know, my dear, I've been at this a long enough time. I know, God bless you, I know you ain't going to listen to me. And the reason is because the grief is going to be too intense. And you figure...
I will listen to you.
No, you're going to reject my awesome wisdom.
I will not.
The evidence, honey, this is not just my opinion. This is not some psychologist's opinion. The evidence is flat out overwhelming that this is not good for kids. Flat out. And it's so many levels: intellectual level, attention level, relational level, emotional level, at every level. And it's pretty linear. The more you do it, the more it affects you badly. So as a parent, if you said, well, he likes to go up to his room and smoke dope for 6 hours, would you permit that?
No.
Of course not. So you're basically saying, well, this isn't as bad as smoking dope. Maybe it's not at one level, but at another level, it's really not good for your kids. And as the parent, it doesn't matter if they're 18 and 19, so what? They live at home. That doesn't mean anything. So given that, Stephanie, you have every right. And I think maybe you ought to talk with your husband and say, okay, we got to be a team on this. I gotta put together some limits on this. And if I get grief, I will tell them, you treat me badly, and you will now lose it for 3 days. So please do not treat me badly. God bless you, Stephanie. I don't know if I reached into awesome wisdom. Maybe pretty decent. Well, here could be a reason why there would be separation. Angie from Nebraska, her mother accuses her of child abuse. I get this direction too, where the grandparents look at the way the kids are their children are raising the grandchildren, thinking, okay, you're too strict, or you're too religious, or I don't like you homeschooling, whatever it might be. I don't like the fact that you don't let them have a smartphone at age 13. Whatever it is, they go from I disagree with the way you parent to you're an abusive parent, and that's apparently what happened with Angie. Hi, Angie.
Hi, Dr. Ray.
What kind of child abuse did she accuse you of?
Well, I'm not sure. What happened was I have 4 kids, ages ranging from 13 to 4. She took one of the middle children aside and asked her if we ever hurt her, and she said no, and Grandma told her not to tell Mommy or Daddy because she'd never get to see her again. So when we got home, we thought everything was fine, and my daughter took me aside and said, I have to tell you something, but you're going to get mad. And I was told not to tell. And I was like, well, you can tell me anything. And she told me what happened. And, I was obviously furious. And I texted my mom that night because I didn't want to talk to her on the phone because I knew I'd be so furious. And I just said, do not contact us. Do not try to talk to the kids. Just pretty much just leave us alone. And we kind of had a good 3 months where we didn't really talk at all. But she doesn't like the way that we parent. We don't do smartphones. We don't do video games. We do very minimal TV. If we go over there, she instantly throws the kids in front of the TV. They can watch whatever they want. They kind of have free range of her house, whatever they want to eat. It doesn't matter because they're grandmas, and, that should trump everything.
So this has been long-standing, Angie, and this most recent accusation is surprising but not necessarily shocking.
Yeah, no. And I asked my daughter, after it happened, I'm like, if you're lying, you need to tell me, but, I believe you. And, she stuck to her story the whole time. She hasn't wavered in her story. My mom says, she's flat out lying. I didn't say any of that, accusing her of lying. And, I'm like, why would she be so, she was emotional and upset and distraught that night that she told us. She knew she wasn't going to get to see Grandma and Grandpa again. And,
it would seem like, Angie, all along, it was one of those cases where all along, unfortunately, your mother has forced you into a situation where the kids can never go there unsupervised. But it also sounds like even when you're there, she attempts to undercut you. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's forced you. She has forced you into making a decision. Mom, I don't want to do this, but if you're going to undercut the way we parent because you disagree with it, you've made this happen. And that's what it sounds like. Now, the abuse thing, I was going to say, did you ask her about it? But apparently you did, and she just flat out denied it because maybe she realized she stepped way over the line in doing something like that. How old's your daughter, Angie?
She would be 11.
Okay, so she's plenty old enough to not misunderstand what she was asked.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at this point, there's been no contact for 3 months, right?
We had some more contact, and she kind of, we kind of started talking again, just, about the kids and stuff, and she just kind of brushed everything off, swept it under the rug, didn't apologize, didn't say I'm sorry, didn't say I'm sorry for the misunderstanding or whatever. She just kind of brushed it off as nothing ever happened and we should just get back on with life.
Well, it doesn't sound like that surprised you. It sounds like that's been her style for years.
This is, since we've had kids, this is long-standing.
So that's your mom. And your husband, is he saying I've about had her? Has he long since gotten
Oh, yeah.
Okay, he's gotten a belly full of her long before you did.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You could tell your mom, I'll tell you what, I don't want to keep you from the grandkids, but for a while you're going to come and see them at our house.
And that's kind of what we did once we kind of started talking again. I kind of made it, if you want to come over, that's fine. I kind of, I don't want to go over there. I don't want to be in her space, where I don't have control over the kids.
Well, here's what you do have control, Angie. Here's what you do. You say, Mom, when we come back over, if you do anything that undercuts my parenting, we're going to leave immediately. Just know that, Mom. No threat, just the facts, reality. If you go turn that TV on while we're there and I don't want the TV on, Mom, we're going to go. If you give them 3 pieces of pie, Mom, instead of 1, we're going to go.
She's kind of the type of person that when I talk back like that to her, or not talk back, but talk like have an adult conversation like that. She'll be like, well, you're disrespecting your parents, and I can't believe that you would do that. I hope your kids treat you how you treat me someday. I've heard that so many times.
Yeah. You got to realize she's just trying to make you feel guilty. She's taking it personal.
Oh, yeah.
She's probably
And
very
it works.
insecure.
I mean, we used to be so close before I met my husband. And, he kind of opened my eyes to the, not really abuse that was going on.
He opened your eyes to the way she kind of manipulated you and controlled you.
She's kind of got...
Well, she doesn't like him either. She doesn't like him at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she thinks that he hates her, and he's done stuff for her over at the house.
Well, Angie, I gave you a couple ideas. I got to run, honey, because I'm past break. But those are a couple of things that I would do on that. Both ways. She could visit at your house. You go there. If she undercuts you in any way, you just tell her, "Hey, Mom, that's what we're going to do." And if she accuses you of not respecting her mother, you can just say, "Mom, you could think what you want to think. I can't do anything about that." This is Dr. Ray.
Hi, this is Vanessa Denha-Garmo. Between school, sports, activities, and family commitments, life can get busy. That's why Sylvan Learning now offers personalized one-on-one academic coaching online from home. Whether your child needs help in math, reading, or test preparation, Sylvan creates a customized learning plan designed specifically for their needs. Sylvan Learning expert coaching, flexible scheduling, real results. Visit mysylvancoach.com to learn more.
Food for the Journey's Sister Ann Shields.
How many times have you experienced jealousy? What do you do with it? First thing is not to want to destroy the other person. The first thing is to say, why am I jealous? What does this person have that I don't have? And then you might just want to make friends with that person, because in the end, you will grow. Those who made friends with Jesus found eternal life. Those who rejected him and in their jealousy separated themselves from him led very difficult lives, and who knows, in the end, whether they accepted faith or not. They could be in hell because they let jealousy have the upper hand, and jealousy kept them from knowing the very source of all life. They were being handed a gift, and they didn't see it as gift. They saw it as threat. We need to look at ourselves, because sometimes God is holding out a gift to us, and we're threatened by it. Rather than opening our hearts and saying, Lord, if this is from you, teach me what you have for me. Show me.
Food for the Journey with Sister Ann Shields can be now heard on the audio archives page at AveMariaRadio.net.
Quick invite. Again, we're heading to Atlanta, August 18th and 19th, to tape 4 episodes of Living Right with Dr. A at Holy Spirit Catholic Church. Love to have you be part of the audience. The audience is a critical part of the show, and it's a lot of fun. You can come to 1234, bring all the kids. Go to thequestatlanta.com. There's a banner there. It says register, and we can build those numbers up. Okay, let's get to you. Kara. Kara from New York is calling. Thanks for calling, Kara.
Hi, thanks so much for taking my call. So my situation is, back in December, a friend of mine, we've been friends for 20 years. I was over at her house with my children, just hanging out. And, unfortunately politics came up, and, she said something like, oh, I wouldn't want anybody of, this persuasion to be around me. And I said, do you know that it was abortion was the main sticking issue.
So
and
anybody who thinks that abortion is wrong not just morally, but just from a scientific perspective, she would say, I want no part of that person.
Right.
Okay. Did she not know after 20 years after 20 years of friendship, did she not know that's where you were?
Well, I was really surprised because, I've been openly Catholic for 20 years. I've never hidden this. We've had multiple discussions about it. I don't know if maybe she's gotten more kind of fired up in the last few years about it. But I was very surprised that she would have that reaction.
When you told her, you said, did you say so directly? Did you say, are you saying that you wouldn't want to be around me because I am pro-life? Did you say that directly?
Well, I can't remember exactly how I worded it, but she said something. She said, "Well, you're a fascist."
Wow.
She said I would have. Yeah, she said I would have voted for Hitler.
Oh, that friendship's over.
Okay. My kids were there, right? I'm absolutely positive my kids will never have a part in that again.
Well, here's what I'm saying. Don't mishear me. I'm saying it's over because she's forced you into making it over. I'm not saying end it. I don't have the right to say that. But it sounds like she said, you're a fascist. I can't be around you because you're pro-life. Get out of my life. That's what it sounds like, meaning that friendship's over. Go ahead. I interrupted you. You were going to say something about the kids.
Sure. So, the kids are out. Now, she did text to apologize. And did a sincere apology, so credit where credit's due. There's a practical aspect, though, of, I have young kids. I really can't go over and hang out without my children around, But also, do I have any sort of obligation as a Catholic to continue the friendship? Because this is not the only difference that we have. I mean, the differences as we get older are just getting greater and greater.
No, you have no obligation to associate with people who radically think differently than you, but not only that, think less of you because of the way you think. There's no obligation there. That your Christian charity doesn't wrap around, well, I have to have you as a friend, even though we're radically different. I can't see that at all. I'm not a theologian, but from all I know, having talked to priests and theologians, they would pretty much be universal in saying, well, no, she's made it pretty clear you not only have nothing in common, less and less, but she doesn't like who you are. And in her mind, she apologized because she thought she went over the line. And, okay, great, she did. But she didn't say, and I respect the way you think, did she?
No.
Right. She wants you to respect the way she thinks.
She did say, I know you're a good person. But that wasn't compelling enough for me. And to be perfectly honest, I haven't really missed her. And it's been months.
Well, it probably was getting to be more and more of a strain because you had to walk on a minefield with what word or sentence could kind of bring about the topic and set it off.
Right.
That's tough. I mean, friendships are to be easygoing. They're to be a source of comfort and pleasant relationship. And I've seen this. I've seen as you get older, the things you shared when you were 22 were more closely aligned. And now you've got kids. You've become much more traditional in your view of things, maybe more religious. And she hasn't. Matter of fact, she's gone further the other direction. And she's intolerant toward you.
Yeah.
I mean, you have, I have people in my life that I'm no longer friends with. Not because I have ill will toward them, but because I don't have much in common with them anymore. Why would I work so hard at having this?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, good. I'm kind of relieved that you said that, to be honest, because
I'm not the measuring stick, but that's just the thought, And I think if you talk to priests, they'll tell you the same thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Doctor. I appreciate it.
God bless you, hon. Okay, we didn't get to some calls. Thanks, Kara. We didn't get to some calls. But I, once again, reiterate that if you're on the line, as you are, please call back in the future. You will be first up, guaranteed, no matter how far back or ahead you wait to call, all the way to Armageddon. And I can't spell Armageddon, but that's not the end of the world, you know. So I appreciate the company, appreciate Andrew Kruchek, Eric Dumont, appreciate EWTN, appreciate doing a lot of appreciating here. Just want to say it is a privilege. I don't say it's been a privilege because it's not like I'm not going to be here. That's up to God. But so far, my plans are to hang around. Thank you for joining me. Walk with God. And if you notice, the closer you walk with God, there's going to be a lot of people that just aren't going to like the way you walk.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.